board member of the MIT Enterprise Forum here in New York. I'm also the head of the emerging company venture capital practice here at Chadbourne and Parke. And I love doing these startup showcases. So I've been doing them a long time. We get to see some amazing companies, and it's really a lot of fun. And then tonight looks like it's going to be pretty exciting. So, rules of the road. Each company gets 5 minutes to present. The panelists will have 5 minutes or so to critique. We may, if we have time, invite some audience participation in that process. And then we move on to the next. So we're going to try to stay to that 5-minute discussion, and the panel is going to sit here. So for those of you, while you're presenting, he's going to give you this sign when you're at the 1 minute mark. All right, he just wants to hold up like that. He doesn't want to do that. Okay, all right, whatever the sign is. Okay, so in no particular order, we're just going to start alphabetically with Delve News.
They put me over here, but the other guys are over there. I guess I'm like...
We're backing singers, that's why we got...
I shower today. I don't want to hear anything.
No complaint. So I'm Ian Sigalo. I'm with Greycroft Partners. We're a digital media-focused venture capital fund. We've been around since 2006, which in VC land makes us a startup ourselves. We're on our third fund now, and we're started, Alan Patrikoff, my partner Dana, and I set up the firm in 2006 to do a couple of things differently in the venture business. But at a high level, for those of you in the audience, we just focus on digital media as a sector. We don't have a minimum ownership percentage, and that's one of the things that we found to be broken in the venture model, which is a lot of the bigger funds insist on owning 20-30%, and we write checks between $1 and $3 million in companies that have some amount of commercial traction. So we're looking for post-seed funding.
My name is Andrew Cleland. I invest on behalf of Comcast Ventures. Comcast, as most of you in the room will know, comprises Comcast and NBC and Universal as operating businesses. We're headquartered out of San Francisco. The second office is out of New York. We typically invest between $2 and $10 million in any particular round of financing. So we're a little bit, we tend not to do the super early stuff. It's usually Series A, B, and C round. And we are strict ROI investors. So we're not looking for strategic fit with any of the Comcast operating businesses. We look across a broad range of potential opportunities, really to drive ROI back to the provider of our capital, which is Comcast exclusively. But having said that, we do get most excited about businesses that we think we can uniquely help to accelerate. So businesses that have a good fit with our operating businesses, and we think we can uniquely as investors help them to ramp their growth, to be successful. Those are the businesses we get excited about.
And my name's Brad Harrison. I have even a babier fund than Ian. I started in about the end of 2009. We're on our second fund. Our first fund made 24 investments. Unlike Andrew and Ian, we try to get as early as we can get. So in a couple of our deals, we were the first $15,000 and $25,000 check in the deal. We don't have a minimum equity position. We're all about picking entrepreneurs that we want to feel good about making that investment, even if the return isn't there, although we really want the return to be there. We try to maintain relationships with guys like Ian and Andrew so that as we start to get companies with traction, we can add both strategic business development relationship access for our entrepreneurs, but also follow-on funding. And we tend to be really active, so we've written 2 to 3 checks in most of our investments.
Great, thanks. Okay, are you ready?
Thanks, so.
All right.
Lori, thanks so much for the opportunity to attend as well. I'm Sandeep. I'm the founder and CEO of Delve, and we're going to tell you a little bit about how we're changing how professionals engage with news. So if you're a professional these days, you've seen a bunch of changes in the content landscape. You're seeing some of your favorite sources hide behind paywalls. You're seeing your colleagues reading blogs that you've never heard of. And the tools that you're using to keep up with a lot of the stuff that you really need to read end up sending you just streams of headlines and not the thought-provoking, analytical stories that really help you become a better professional, give you new ideas, new strategies, new potential leads and partnerships. And then when you do find one of these stories, your best option to get it around to your colleagues is email. So we thought we could do a little bit better. And so here's Delve. You can think of it as sort of a flipboard for the enterprise. It's a web-based newsreader personalized to your organization, a daily and weekly email digest, and a mobile-optimized site that you can use on the go. Your Delve feed is personalized based on the topics and sources that are relevant to you as an individual or your company. And we've started by mapping out 8 major verticals down to over 1,000 categories. And we build a highly relevant feed for you, and then we curate it by pulling what stories are being tweeted, what stories are appearing in industry newsletters, as well as our own layer of internal editors' picks. You can then recommend or discuss any stories with your colleagues. And by doing so, you're making news contextual, you're making it actionable, and it's not just a piece of FYI anymore. Anybody in your organization can add a comment, can add a recommendation, and it turns into sort of a news as really an opportunity for collaboration within your organization. So here's one example of how a firm is using Delve. JMOR Partners is a boutique tech-focused investment bank based on the West Coast, and they are paying attention to tech M&A, startups, really what a lot of these guys here are doing. And so Austin Lilly, a junior analyst there, previously was keeping up with his 5 favorite sources. He would cut and paste relevant stories into a Word document and then email it around to his firm. He had no idea who was clicking on any of these stories. Nobody was able to ever go back and find any of these stories. And really there was no feedback, it was purely a one-way process. So we built Austin a personalized newsreader based on over 100 relevant sources. We're prioritizing all these stories, and instead of this taking him 3 hours a day, he's able to do it in just about an hour. Austin, on average, we saw something like 46 minutes per visit over the course of the pilot in January. And Austin has now turned news gathering and news sort of dissemination in his organization into a collaborative process. So a firm like JMOR will use Delve, will pay for Delve on a software as a service basis, very similar to a lot of companies that have torn up the space a little bit by making cloud-based apps that are very easy to install and very easy to roll out within their organizations. And we're seeing a lot of these, we're seeing within the content distribution space, a bunch of innovative apps get between the publisher, the owner of content, and the end user. Tools like Flipboard and Twitter and Pulse have done a pretty interesting job for the consumer-facing angle, and then a tool like Yammer allows a user to post a story internally within their organization to a central social place. We generally find that consumer news apps really aren't built for use within the enterprise. Everything that you're posting is public, which you probably don't want to do with stories that you're emailing to your boss. And the enterprise-focused news apps, tools like Factiva and LexisNexis, really aren't built for day-to-day news flow. They're really news databases and news research tools. So a bit about us. I curated a newsletter that went out to about 600 investors when I was at RBC. Tom Weingarten, our CTO, joined us after wrapping up his PhD at NYU, and Andy Whalen was previously a foreign correspondent at the Associated Press. We've been working on Delve since last March full-time. We launched it with a handful of pilots in November. And we were recently named to the South by Southwest Accelerator this year, and we won a pitch competition at the Software and Information Industries Annual Summit. So we're looking for new pilots, potential content partners who might be interested in using our product as a place for distributing some of their research reports, some of their premium content, and we're working on our seed round of roughly $1 million, of which we've closed $400K so far. Thanks so much. I'm Sandeep. We're Delve, and happy to take some questions.
Hey Sandeep, good to see you again. So you kind of talked about the model. Do you have any metrics on what you guys were able to accomplish since March of 2012 in terms of how you're seeing some of your assumptions around content curation and virality?
Yeah. Yeah, we were testing a number of assumptions. We initially started by really becoming a platform for internal curation. So the idea was to get an individual to jump on Delve and to essentially give them a menu of options and get them to curate themselves. We started to realize very quickly that we needed to do a lot more recommendation, that just really wasn't enough. And so we spent a few months, most of last fall, really building up our ability to recommend content. So this was part of our newsletter recommendations that we started to do. We started to mine Twitter a lot more, and we started to do a little bit of our own editor's picks. So through that, we started to realize that we were providing really quality content, seeing very strong click rates on our email digests, and very good qualitative feedback from the people who are using the content.
So like, wait, give me an example of what that click rate is.
Email open rates in the 50% range, click rates in the high teens on daily digests. So stuff that people are looking at every single day. And then on the product itself, we saw that a few people would log in within an organization and then use Delve as an input to some of the email digests that they're already sending to their colleagues. So in Jay Moore's case, I think that's a classic example. One of our other pilots, we had a few junior people logging in for an hour and 10 minutes per visit. Across the product, we're seeing roughly visit times in the 20-minute range. So pretty deep usage, but and now we're starting to work on getting penetration across these organizations.
A couple of product questions for you. If you sell a large enterprise which has different stakeholders in the enterprise, so maybe someone's interested in finance news, maybe someone's interested in product news, how do you onboard those people and set them up efficiently?
So this, unfortunately, the screenshot doesn't show it particularly well, but what we do is every individual can have their own version of a newsfeed, and then there's an organizational layer. So essentially we have two tabs at the top. I wonder if the previous screen shows it at all. Unfortunately, no. So right above this newsfeed, there are two tabs. One's a reader view, and the other is a forum view. The reader view is personalized to you as an individual, and the forum layer shows all of the stories that have been acted on by the organization. There's another organization layer, so you can essentially have different groups within an entire enterprise that have entirely independent news feeds. And you really just have an admin who's controlling that. So it kind of feeds into the business model that we envision a little bit, that you can have, in a similar way that Yammer penetrated some of these organizations, you could have a small team signing up for it to use internally, and another team in the organization, and then we can essentially sell the organization on admin access across these teams, essentially priority content, pulling in some of their premium content, and being able to control these distributions across these organizations.
Does that mean that there's a central administrator setting up
Panel.
feeds for each user?
Right now, that's the part that we're doing for our pilots, but it is possible. We're essentially creating that admin panel.
And is that done by feed selection, or is that done by keyword input?
No, it's done by topic selection. So, you can pull in certain sources that you're prioritizing, but we've basically built a pretty deep content library that we're mining roughly 10,000 stories a day. Yeah. And so, you tell us you're interested in health policy, and we put on a health policy feed for you. And so you can sort of manipulate that as an admin.
Last couple of questions from me. If it's a multi-topic feed, like BBC or New York Times, how do you treat that?
So what we do is we say the New York Times puts out 200 stories a day. We mine it, we pull out, essentially through a text extraction process, we pull out features, we map it to this topic taxonomy that we have, and so if 10 of those stories fell into the health policy category, those are the only stories you're going to see. So you would simply say you're interested in the New York Times as a source, and you're interested in this particular topic, and our job is to find the overlap there, and not serve you the 200 stories that come from the Times.
And just to understand the business model, it is a monthly subscription to power users to control experience for the enterprise?
It is a enterprise-wide per user. So say Deloitte has 200,000 employees, they want to roll it out to 50,000 of them, we would essentially do a per user per month model. I mean, for an organization that big, I'm guessing we'll have to negotiate that. But say it's a 100-person law firm, we would roll it out at, say, we've modeled kind of $10 per user per month in the pilot agreements that we've written so far.
Do I have time?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
I still have one more question. So.
Okay, I'll cut in. Are you an investor in Flipboard and Comcast? Okay. Well, we're an investor in Pulse. Yep. So you have two of the three panelists have investor in the consumer side of this business.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple things that I'm thinking as you went through your presentation. There are 3 typical markets that a product like this sells into inside the enterprise. I think one is PR and corporate communications, and that's the critical mention, clipbook
Media
type. Yeah. And that's a known market with real budget. I think the second one is the corporate portal market, which Plumtree started, in the 90s.
Yeah.
And the third is, kind of some kind of a marketing tool where you can do email newsletters to to people who are interested.
Sure.
I think just that's where the budget is today.
Yep.
So as you look to expand, I would map out the feature sets of those products, and I think you need to add more to it. I mean, you're obviously building products still, but it's a little skinny. It feels a little skinny to get people really excited about just a news clipping service. I think if you want to go after the corporate portal market, you have to do more than that. And I don't, you'll have to see what you can come up with.
Sure. That is what we're targeting, the corporate
Yeah.
portal market specifically. We had a great chat with Gordon Krovitz, who ran the Wall Street Journal
Sure.
for a while, and there was this point where organizations had a central place where if you didn't look at it, you were made out to be sort of a fool, and that's gone, and it's something that we can get to with, as you guys know, the level of personalization technology.
Well, I think doing corporate portal where it's disseminated and it's distributed to the employees via email with a link, click into today's whatever, and here's a snapshot where it's dynamically created is cool. Nobody's done that yet, but got a little bit to go from here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think along Ian's point, it felt thin to me. My comments were twofold. One on the curation. It seems like you're spending a lot of time talking about taxonomies and your own content map, and I would argue that you're limited if you guys are the ones developing that, as opposed to if you could figure out a way to get more input and curation dynamically from people consuming the content, both inside the organization and outside the organization. I think if you can do it outside, it makes it a way more compelling thing. So I would just think a little bit about that, and then I think the feature set as well. Understanding how to just get something that they want to use in some of the other areas. And I think there are a ton of things that we're seeing that are around this, right? So, right, we've met, so we've already seen this. But no, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot around curation and consumption. We're in news create, so that's another one in the. So just get deeper.
It is a crowded space. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, all right.
One quick final on that. It'll be quick. So I think there's 2 things to win here. I think one is underlying science and recommendations, and it feels like you're early on that path. There's a lot of people working very hard at deep data science to reveal unexpressed preferences around content consumption. And the other one is UX, UI, user flow, and innovating there and making it as simple as possible and as action as possible and beautiful looking. I mean, that's on the consumer side, that's really counted, and I think we're seeing those dimensions become more and more important on the enterprise side as well.
Right, MatchPoint Careers. We use proven science to get the right people in the right jobs. Okay, that's the pitch. Any questions? Maybe a couple details before we take questions. Another simple way, think of us as eHarmony for work. eHarmony is different from the others because you have to take an assessment. Proven science, determining, predicting long-term successful relationships. As a result, nearly 1 in 20 weddings every day in the United States throughout the year are couples who met each other on eHarmony. Predict science works. The problem addressed by MatchPoint Careers is that recruitment is broken, to put it mildly. There's a great deal of money being spent. It's a huge market. There are a lot of solutions in the marketplace, new technologies and approaches. Almost all of it is based on mostly irrelevant and mostly untrue information, and I'll answer a question on that if you like. As a result, about one half of people, 1 in 2 people hired don't work out, and 30% of business failures can be attributed to hiring errors. The solution to this mess is well known. Almost every large organization uses psychometrics as accurate performance prediction at scale. If you look at the chart showing the correlation between how you make a decision and whether somebody performs on the job, you'll see that traditional recruitment gets the sort of results that I've just indicated. If you use performance prediction, you will increase the likelihood that you're hiring the right people by about 3 to 4 times. The impact of doing this means lower recruitment costs, lower turnover, increase in profit, and huge ROIs. And these are real numbers with huge amounts of data behind them, as psychometrics performance prediction is used in its traditional but expensive, complex, non-scalable fashion. We changed that. MatchPoint Careers has created 2 products to address these markets. One for employers, called Job Person Matching. You profile the job according to what will drive performance. You profile all the candidates, we profile the candidates and rank them according to who is the most likely to be the highest performers. The mirror image of that is our product for individuals and increasingly universities. It's called the Career Positioning System, CPS. Think GPS for careers. It's a navigation system. What career should I be in? That is the career where I am most likely to perform. Here's how it works. An employer profiles a job. We ask them a few questions. You are seeing all of them. That's all we need. We have a database of already professionally profiled jobs that demonstrate what predicts performance. That gives us a starting point. We take that information, we assess candidates, applicants to the job, and rank them according to who the best fit, the most likely high performers. The employer will get this, a short list of candidates ranked according to those factors which predict performance, which are competencies, preferences, or cultural fit, and skills, not experience, not education, which is what the resume is all about. They don't predict performance. Employer also gets a detailed match report for each candidate, showing how the candidate aligns with that which predicts performance in each detailed category. The employer also gets a report showing how the candidate matches against the cultural fit of the organization. Now, because we're using psychometrics behind this, this is as close as you get to the truth. Not, oh, this is my company culture, it's wonderful, you'll love it here. No, it's the truth on both sides. Our vision is to get everybody assessed, to be the SAT of hiring, because accurate hiring will generate a much better answer for everyone, employers and candidates, and the financial gain is enormous. And so will our valuation be. The business model is that we charge employers $1,500 per job filled, irrespective of number of candidates, as many candidates as you want, irrespective of number of tests that you'd like to use, as many as you want. That breaks the model substantially. For positioning, and there's also a license fee, a license model over time, as there is for the CPS. For example, Apollo Group, which owns the largest university in the United States, pays us $850,000 a year to profile all their students. These are some of our current clients and channels. A channel is an organization that has access to very large numbers of individuals and very large numbers of employers. About $2.5 million has been invested to date by 2 individual angels, an angel group, and me. We're looking for, let's say, $250,000 in this round to close this round, which will be used for scaling of the business. We started in 2011, delivered some pilots and demonstrated proof of concept. First revenue was last year, over $400,000. We will do $2 million this year. $1 million of it is already booked, so I'm not really concerned about that. The management team is, well, let's just say diverse, international, and a lot of expertise. Exits could be multiple technology companies, recruiting companies, corporates, and here are some comparables that you can see the sort of valuations attached to solutions. SHL at the bottom, particularly relevant because we license assessments from them. They are the largest psychometric company in the world. Questions?
So, what does the consumer have to do in order to go through this process?
The individual.
The individual, yeah.
Yeah, they take assessments as you would on eHarmony, for example. It's more complex here because there's a job to be matched with, not just another person. And our suite of assessments covers the things that most strongly predict performance. It takes about an hour.
And you
all
do-
online.
All online.
Do
and
you
all
make
free.
are you making recommendations, or are you?
The career recommendations cost money. We're getting paid for that, so I will not give that away for free. So what a candidate will get is a report demonstrating your innate qualities, those that are relevant for performance in a job, and you get that for free. You're using the best psychometric assessments in the world, so this is worth a lot. It would cost you retail, I don't know, around $1,000 for those assessments. What are the implications of those qualities that you have for careers? Which careers match well with those? That we do, that's the CPS.
Can you give me an example of a question on this thing?
The fun part probably is the what psychologists call a personality test. Not personality like you and I think of it. Are you nice?
Yeah.
But your behaviors, your innate, the way in which you work, the way in which you operate. And again, these are designed to elicit the truth. We use an ipsative format. That's a forced choice. So you get 3 statements. I love being busy. I like meeting new people. I get nervous before big events. You have to pick the one that's most like you and the one that's least like you. It's either fun or an agony depending, but the point is this has been done millions of times, I assure you, probably hundreds of millions of times, and the validation, that is, the evidence that it measures what it says it measures, which are things that predict performance, is very, very high. That's an example.
So tell me what you think the competitive landscape looks at, because I spend a lot of time around veterans issues, and so I've seen probably 25 things that use the Brinkman method or another method of going through an hour-long assessment, and then I've seen a whole bunch of things that look at actual HR and jobs and what the skills have to try to better match that. So we'd just like to know what your thoughts of the competitive landscape are.
The competitive landscape includes the traditional psychometric companies who do it through consultants, and you pay for the tests and all of that, and they're good. SHL's the best, but they are good, right? But they're not scalable. It's inherently not scalable. So other people are coming along with solutions, many of them not predicting performance. The vast majority do not predict performance. They use social, who likes you, what have other people said about you, and so on. If you use the Berkman method or others, there are many good ones, some not so good, but there are many good ones, you get a better answer. And the real trick, I think, is not only to assess people, companies know how to assess people, but to match that to the job. You have to assess the job also. Employers are not going to sit down and go through the long process online. Many of them have already done it in 3 to 6 week processes with consultants, but they're not going to sit down and do this. So we leverage a very large database of already professionally profiled jobs. That I have seen in no other competitor anywhere. And by putting the two together in our technology with our matching algorithm, you get what you need to have, which is how the candidate matches the requirements for performance in the job.
And what was the source of that job information?
Well, the original source is ONET. ONET is a Department of Labor, freely accessible site with a huge amount of information. It used to be called the Dictionary of Occupational Titles. That's the original source. SHL has taken that and expanded it with their own information, since they are the largest in the world in this domain, and we license it from them.
And is that license exclusive?
No.
Okay. And how do you sell it to enterprises? Because big enterprises typically have applicant tracking systems already. Is this, do you position this company as a complement to those already existing platforms, or as a
Well,
replacement?
if it's applicant tracking, yes. We integrate with pretty much any applicant tracking system. Applicant tracking, just how are they doing through the process? But what are you doing with them is the more important decision, and we see that they're not doing the right things because recruitment isn't working out well. But we will integrate with applicant tracking systems. We sell to corporates by demonstrating how they will reduce turnover, increase the likelihood of high performers, and the data are easily demonstrable, and they are, I think, quite overwhelming. The really interesting model for us right now is channels, organizations that have very large numbers of applicants and very large numbers of employers. We're working with a UK company called well, they're called even-based, but within it are 17 job boards. They are the number 3, I think, online recruitment organization in the world. And we have access to a great many candidates and employers in that way, adding, I think, a very significant value to their model.
Can you just talk about defensibility a little bit if the SHL license isn't exclusive?
Yeah. Organizations, any organization could decide that they want to leverage the best science in the world and build something. So defensible is defensible. We have a model which nobody else has with quality, which is free assessments. Somebody else is going to have to come up with a way to do that. Secondly, we have a matching algorithm which is focused entirely, it's our proprietary matching algorithm, which is focused entirely on assessing the job and the person and getting the match. And thirdly, and what has proven to be a really big winner, is the career positioning system. The other players in the career guidance aren't even close. I think we've looked at all those, most of them anyway, to leveraging serious science to get all that in place. Now, I am asked periodically, well, you don't have an exclusive with SHL, and that might come apart. Well, it will one day. I'd like it to come apart because we'd like to have our own. I don't want to be writing assessments, so we buy them. But nobody else has put the model together. And why would SHL give their tests away for free unless they saw that this is indeed the future of their industry, and they don't want to be just left lying in the dust when it changes?
I would tell you there's a couple of really formidable opponents out there that you should look for.
You can name them if you like. I've looked at a lot,
It's not my
including one focused on the military that's not quite there yet, but they might be very good.
I would love to get access to this just to screen CEOs that pitch us to see if they have the right fit for the position that they're
We
in.
are, in fact, developing a product along with the angel group that invests in us to do exactly that. It's not that difficult to do from where we are right now. We just have to package it and all of that. But yes, I can tell you
When that's done,
who's the
we
most
talk.
likely
We
to be
definitely talk.
successful. Yeah. Why wouldn't you do that scientifically?
It's worth a lot of money to us to get it right.
We believe so.
All right, thanks. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Alex, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. The company I'm presenting today is Placemeter. So many of you, I know it's an MIT event, but many of you are New Yorkers, I'm assuming, right? So I'm assuming many of you, like especially scrappy entrepreneurs like me, take the subway a lot, right? So you're familiar with these signs, the sign that tells you when the next subway is coming. So that sign doesn't actually change anything in how long you're going to wait for the subway, but it makes the wait seems a lot shorter. And on other lines, like my line, you don't have that sign. You keep bending, and looking for the next subway, and you're frustrated. So that data is really useful, addictive, and it really changes the relationship that people have with places and with their environments. So and that applies to a lot of other things. The world is going that direction. We're going in a direction where everything is getting instrumented, and you're getting data, information about everything around you. So if you have a Fitbit, you get information about yourself. There's lots of examples like that. We at Placemeter, we think that there's still a problem there. How come that all these places you go to spend time and money every day, that includes restaurants, coffee places, maybe your office space, museums, your gyms, lots of places like that. How come these places don't provide you with a similar type of information right now to help improve your experience and plan your weekend trip to the grocery store, choose the best time to go to the gym, choose the best time to go grab your coffee, or just know before you go, know how your usual restaurant or bar is going to be. So we really believe in the immense and tremendous value of that type of data for consumers. And we want to be the company that brings it in the hands of consumers. And of course, we want to make money in the making, in the process. So we're trying to build a new layer of the world, which is the places activity layer of the world. And that layer is going to help transform the way we interact with places. So how do we do that? It's very simple. It's cheap hardware and off-the-shelf, inexpensive hardware and complex software. So my background is in image recognition and software. So the way it works is you just set up simple cameras like the ones you have here. It's super easy to set up. You need to set them up above what needs to be sensed. It can be the line, if you want to measure how long people wait in the line. It can be the seating area, if you want to know how many tables are available or seats are available. It can be just above the door if you want to measure how many people come in and out and are in the place. So you just do that. Everything is computed locally on these little boxes that are off-the-shelf computers with our own cool casings. And then that data gets fed to our data center on the bottom right. We process it to serve it real time, to analyze and compute insights and typical traffic patterns, but also to do predictions. And the data we then push into the hands of people through different channels. It can be a mobile app, our own mobile app. It can be the places own and existing, own and operated channels, an existing mobile app, an existing website. It can also be third-party platforms like Yelp or Facebook. So we think we're really building a unique data asset that can have a lot of value to a lot of platforms. We're already talking to a number of these potential partners, and we really want to distribute that data as much as possible, as widely as possible. So why would a place do that? Why would a business do that? Actually, today, customer experience and getting people back into stores is becoming a major concern for businesses and place managers. So our tool is really there to help them do that. And so that's the first benefit they get by providing that information to their consumers. Consumers are going to get there and know what to expect and have a better experience. And statistically are going to come back more often because they have a better experience. Also down the road, this builds a new vector, a new relationship between the place and the consumer, and we're going to use that for businesses to know their consumers better. When they start using the data through an app or through an SDK or through different platforms, this is a perfect way for businesses to push announcements, to push offers, and also to know their consumers' habits. So where are we today? We started about a year ago. Building the prototypes and the infrastructure. Today we have 10 installed locations. We have 20 committed that we're installing on a weekly basis. We do about 5 per week. We're all mostly in New York, a little bit in DC. You have some examples of our clients here. It's a mix between individual businesses and some local chains for now. All the business-facing aspect of what we do, which is reporting to the business about their typical traffic patterns, all that is available to our 2 business owners already. We're releasing a Facebook tab app, which is going to provide you that occupancy and activity information on a Facebook page next week for 4 customers in New York, 4 locations. And the next step is releasing a Placemeter mobile app. That's going to come a little later. So just a quick word about us. I'm a PhD in image recognition. I don't know if there's some MIT Media Lab or CSAIL alum here, but you probably know about image recognition if you are. I have a track record of starting and successfully selling a company in image recognition. And my partner, Florent, another French guy, sorry, nobody's perfect. Couldn't help it. He's the former head of sales for Guild City and has a huge experience in marketing and selling to local businesses and also national chains. There we are. We raised about funding. We raised a round of angel money at the very beginning. I bootstrapped the company also with $250,000. We're closing another angel round right now. We're in the final of the selection process at Techstars, New York. So fingers crossed, we hope to get in there. And we're looking to raise a large seed or small Series A round in the next 3 to 6 months.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
I get to go first?
Yeah, you
Good. I'm an investor in a company called Nomi, and the opportunity you're solving for could not be hotter. This is right where you want to be right now, because everyone's going to buy a solution for this product over the next 2 years. I have 100 questions for you, but it's probably to my competitive advantage to ask them, so I won't. But I think the takeaways that I've had after looking at this space is you need to get the hardware costs down to basically zero. That's where the market is. They don't really want to pay for hardware; they'll pay for a solution. So you need to be able to bundle that into the overall hardware cost as you look at this. And I think that there's a difference in this market between retailers and quick service restaurants. And quick service restaurants understand how to make use of the data about who comes in, dwell time, and all of that. Retailers don't. They're interested in it, but it's not hooked up to their systems yet. So just for your own market strategy and go-to-market and the way you think about the universe, sometimes you get better traction in an area where people understand how to use the data, but then again, you may get better traction in a market that other people aren't going after right away, so you've got to kind of figure out how you want to peel the orange.
Yeah, so you're totally spot on. I mean, we know Nomi very well, and every time we pitch someone, they've seen Nomi or they're going to see Nomi the next week. So, and they
That's how everyone's going to buy a solution in this space.
Yeah.
So
it's a great company and a great solution. Our approach is a little different in the sense that we don't want to rely too much on Wi-Fi tracking and cell phone tracking because we think that the privacy issue is there. There could also be some legal issues there. So we do a little bit of that. Most of our technology is still based on image recognition, just for the difference between us and Nomi. Also, our approach is to try and leverage the data with businesses, but also with consumers. And that's why we're actually going after a market that are maybe slightly different. There's some overlap with Nomi, of course. There's also some differences. We want to focus on people who have a strong online presence and, like you said, know how to use the data. But that data I'm talking about is more how to push that data to their consumers. And they know that their online presence and their mobile presence has a strong impact on their business or on the quality of the visits, etc.
How big is your team still?
We're 2 and almost 3. About to bring a third guy on board. I did all the coding and Florent did all the sales.
Great.
It looks like amazing technical solution for 2 people's work. I think
Thank you.
that's to be commended. So it's interesting. I was really surprised by the tack you took around the value to the consumer. From my perspective, I struggle to see the value to the consumer. I see that there are situations where a restaurant might be full and you want to drop by and it would have saved you time not to have to drop by. But I really see 99% of the value for the owner of the location. And maintaining a rigid focus on serving that customer as completely as possible and along as many dimensions as they want. So maybe it's correlating number of people through the door with foot traffic, which those statistics are readily available, and making sure, therefore, that you're tracking performance of each location and benchmarking to bring up to best practice. All these kinds of feature benefits for the owner of the location seem to be very apparent to me. I agree with Ian. I mean, the hardware costs here are the intimidating pieces, and so are you able to apply your solution using simple webcams, or do you need something a bit more sophisticated?
Yeah. So so first of all, the cost of the hardware, I didn't go over that during the presentation, but right now, using completely off-the-shelf components, it's about $250, and we sponsor that cost.
Do you need one per location or multiple?
Yeah, that's $250 per location. That includes the camera and the little computer. So we provide all that. We sponsor that. We subsidize that cost. And eventually we might ask for a deposit, but the goal is really to be more on a monthly fee basis. We think that based on interaction with some of our advisors, some of the larger chains, we think that if we can achieve what we want in terms of implementing that kind of data for CRM, and we really think the value there is a huge value there. There's also a huge value for operations, like you were saying, but we think that most companies are missing the big point now, which is the value for consumers and for CRM. So if we can implement the right channels and the right tools for CRM, we think we can get about $1,500 to $2,000 per location per year in revenue, so which would completely cover the cost of support and hardware, and our payback time would be around 4 months.
And when you talk to the customer, what is the lead piece of value you talk about to drive ROI for your solution? What's the kind of killer feature that you lead with?
It's really customer experience. I mean, a lot of businesses are really focused on customer experience today, and this is an amazing tool for customer experience. So of course, you're right. I mean, it's a new thing. So I would say half of the businesses we talk to don't get it immediately. And one of their fears is to share that data with their visitors. They don't feel like doing that. But this is kind of a short-term strategy. If you see long-term, providing that service, which is a cutting-edge service, new and really honest and useful service, is going to improve the relationship between the business and the consumers. And businesses are really convinced of that. I mean, the ones who get a solution.
So Alex, one of the things is that, so first off, I agree with Ian's comment, which is understanding the quick serve, venue versus Ling Rosé, and how you service somebody buying a $10,000 piece of furniture versus a $7 burger is an entirely different customer experience, and how you address those markets, I think you need to think about. Number two, I think you automatically make the assumption that waiting or busyness is somehow always bad for experience. Sometimes it's part of the experience, like at Shake Shack, if you go in lunchtime, there is going to be a line. That is part of the experience, as part of Danny Meyer's shtick. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I don't necessarily think the correlation should be one-to-one, that, if it's not busy or if there's excess capacity, because Groupon proved us just filling excess capacity is not always good for businesses. So I think you need to think a little bit more about that. The other thing that this feels like when I look at it is you're an image recognition person. So you're using the image recognition to acquire data because that's what you know how to build it, right? I would argue that maybe you should look at the implementation of that image recognition thing, and is it about wait times, or is it when I have a loyalty that's directly connected to my POS, and a customer of mine that walks in every single morning for a coffee walks through the door, I get a little alert on my POS that says Bob is here. That to me catches all the other data that you need, but that to me seems like the type of stuff. I think that your solution is almost kind of too basic for the type of data and the type of technology that you know how to build.
So just to answer your 2 points, so the first point is very interesting. It's actually, we had an interesting conversation with the head of marketing at Union Square Hospitality. And they know that being busy is part of their marketing. They want people to know that they're busy. And our tool is actually a way to do that also. But what they know also is that about 20-25% of their customers are what they call smart customers, that exchange information online. They create mailing lists and tweeters to know when the line is short. So they also want to cater to these guys, and they know that even though they're always busy, they can still improve their yield. And so all in all, it actually works with places that are super busy. One of our first clients is a bar. That guy actually wants to attract people when he's busy. So he's actually advertising the busy times to get more people in. And his problem is that he's busy a little later on. So it's actually super useful for him to be able to push that information to potential customers. Okay, I'm busy at 10. I'm going to come at 8 because it's going to be dead. Come at 10. So now...
But again, I think you're stuck on the data variable of being busy.
Yeah.
And what I'm arguing is you need to look at other data variables. To me, being busy as a merchant, yeah, that's always important, but I really care about understanding how much money customers are spending and how often they come back. And that's different data. So I would just think about a more comprehensive solution.
Yeah,
I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Alex.
Thank you.
David.
So I'm David Bennerholm. I'm the CEO of Punch, and I'm going to give you a tour of what we do and explain our business. So we're in the easy app creation business. What does that mean exactly? There's a problem out there, which is it's quite difficult and time-consuming to create truly device-native apps, whether it's for iPhone or iPad. It can take 4 months, tens of thousands of dollars, and there's a lot of risk involved in coding in Objective-C natively. So we ask ourselves, what if you could build an app in a fraction of that time, right? What if you could reduce it by almost 90% in terms of the time. What if you could take the cost down significantly as well? And we would say, well, that sounds great. I want to hear how I can do that and do it potentially in-house. So that's what we do at Punch. We enable the creation of apps very easily through a content management system. You build an app literally in days, assuming you have all your assets ready to go. Often the most complex thing with creating an app is having the right assets. We have an API that allows you to take what you create with Punch, actually put it into an app you're creating. So where you do have native coders available and you want to integrate Punch functionality, you can do that. And ultimately, it's a completely open canvas, quite distinct from a lot of the competition. We really started from the inside out. You're not constrained by templates, and you're not doing anything in HTML. We can feed HTML in, but everything you're doing ultimately will run natively on the machine. And the vision we have for the long term is that ultimately this is how apps are going to get created, and we're going to create a framework where that can happen. So to create an API infrastructure where third parties can develop against our platform, to begin to bring search indexing into apps. We have a whole sort of process in that, which is going to be quite amazing. The ability to actually have Google crawl app content, so that discovery, one of the huge problems with apps is discovery is a disaster. Go to this app store and it's a mess. The ability to find app content through Google and through social. You can't share app content, right? We have thoughts on that, how you can actually need to share actual app content across apps. So that's where this all goes, and ultimately it empowers a very vibrant app creation ecosystem. Apps are the new currency of the internet, supplanting the browser and the web page. We all know this, and it's long overdue that the authoring tools for this become a lot easier to use. So for now what we're doing is we're making enterprises very happy by giving them tools to create extraordinary apps very quickly and inexpensively that are native to the machine. These are clients we currently have, and 3 verticals that we're growing into, we see ourselves entering. So things like mobile sales forces. Hunter Douglas is a large industrial holding company. You are selling potentially multi-million-dollar contracts. You'd like to have a much better sales tool than a PowerPoint or something else. Always on, always updatable. The media is pretty obvious. That's like Time Inc., right? It's one of our customers. You've got to create apps, and you can't just be repurposing your magazines anymore on your website. That's sort of term limited now. You've done that, and the challenge is creating native apps. It's too expensive and time consuming. And lastly is this whole sort of retail or e-commerce sector. The iPad and the tablet is an amazing tool for merchandising. It really transforms how you shop, and the ability to really push massive volumes of transactional shopping-related content through this device is critical. Got to be elegant, beautiful merchandising. So, all sounds great in theory. Let's just for a moment leave this slideshow, do a little multi-touch gesture here, and we'll go into a demo app. So, what we're selling, we literally are able to
see that when you're doing a live
yeah, well, you know, here we are. It's good at telling you the internet connection. So, this is like a leave behind we can give people. Send it to you by email potentially. And this is an app built on Punch. We'll just go right to this technology section. We'll just spend a couple of seconds in here. These are not templates, they're just conceptual frameworks. So we think of e-commerce frameworks. Think of it as a high fidelity wireframe is what this is, right? So we can look at the first one, the shopping scene, and just pull that in live off the internet. And that's that little delay. And so here we have a shopping scene. Very easy to create these environments. I tap on the man's tie, and it's going to open up, you know, simple card view. There's audio layers we can't hear right now. You need to shop through, right? If I hit buy now, it will, you know, invoke an in-app view very simply. You can go ahead and buy that product. Cool. It's pretty fast. That's good. That's a shopping scene. Very easy way to think about merchandising. Kind of step it up a little bit. This is what we call the product builder. Again, this just flew in through the network. You got a carousel here. We're going to essentially build our pizza by adding toppings to it. This could be designing a room. I want to decorate a conference room and so on. I'm getting the signal saying I got to hurry up. So rather than go through more of these, which are really cool and interesting, we have all these wonderful tools for building video content, streaming video, long-form journalism, controlling music, doing very rich kind of multi-layered info things like timelines. Geo-targeting, you can layer over maps in real time, puzzles, games, it's all in there. Calendars for the event community, collisions, particles, basically the whole palette of what makes these devices fantastic are available to you in this platform. So where do we go from here with it? Sales, we're selling a lot, and we expect to be doing quite a bit. Primarily in this, I think this retail area is going to be very, very big over time, both e-commerce and in-store, by the way. But then the media sector and the sales force as well. The go-to-market strategy, basically we're getting reference clients now in these key verticals. Then over time, you ultimately have to create a network of resellers to sell this. This should be a capability that every agency has, consultancies have. That way we'll get to massive scale. And then lastly, the competition. Like I said, most of them have come in from the outside in, very template driven, very focused on transferring initially web content, print content into apps. We've sort of gone this open canvas roughly on the top right, and very fast. Financing to date, $2.2 million in seed financing from people like DataWorks, NEA, Jason Calacanis, and others. And now we're going to go ahead and raise $3 million to do a couple of key things. Push the technology onto Android, make the CMS be truly WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, visual editing, the API exchange, and really blow out that whole sales infrastructure so we can go wide with the product and get cash flow positive by the first quarter of 2014. So that's what we do, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, Dave. We're going to keep the comments to about 5 minutes because we have 2 more companies.
Maybe one per person.
Okay, he's volunteering 1 per person. So, go ahead.
Want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Please,
Look, I think that the trick with this business, as you get to scale, is figuring out who's going to build the apps for your end client. And I don't believe that the agencies, because everybody has a creative agency at scale, and JCPenney and all these folks, I don't believe that they're going to want to learn a brand new tool. To the extent that you could make your tool as intuitive as something that they're already familiar with, like Adobe InDesign or something else that they're currently using to build applications or build creative templates, I think that would help. That's one. 2 is I think media companies are horrible clients. Sorry for those of you in the audience who work for media companies, but yeah, or on the panel. Well, the monopolist media companies, those are really the worst clients. But you know, the reality is,
But they're the best acquired.
best acquirers, but they have CTOs that want to build the product and they don't really have the willingness to pay for it. The clienteling application around retail sales associate, I think, is interesting, and it's not an area that people are going into that I've seen, and I think if you could own that market alone,
Yeah.
that's a huge opportunity. And you should talk to the guys from Placemeter about linking up their data to this too, because I think it would be interesting to do a data call. So that's kind of my feedback.
No, 1.
Maybe the audience gets one.
It's really a comment. My concern here is competition. I think there's 3 layers in this market. There's very deep native development tools, up a little bit, so native development tools up a little bit from there is Corona, which has a nicely established base already. And then at the very highest level you have HTML5 plus Java scripting solutions, which are 10 a penny. And you said just in between. And the bet is that just in between market becomes big enough to really create a business for you, and nobody else has been competitively. But it is a very crowded space with some reasonably entrenched competition already.
Well, two answers to that. I mean, the first is look at the clients we're getting. So these are very experienced clients that have seen a ton of solutions. It's not like we're the first people to show up at their door. Why are they working with us? And I think that's a reference question. That begins the only way to answer this competition question, I think, is you've got to call clients and ask them why. Because I'll obviously give you my reason, but it's not worth much. The clients are what matters. So now I'll give you my reason, which may or may not be worth much, which is I think there's enormous dissatisfaction with HTML5. Actually, the unhappiness with it is very, very high. Google it, let Google tell you about it. Well documented. And on the native coding side, the price point is just too extreme. I agree with you that yes, that's a competitor set, but you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars minimum, and at least 90 days for something qualified to come out the door. And these are clients that want to do something in 2 weeks, let alone rapid prototyping, where you want to do something in 4 or 5 days. Again, that's not HTML5.
Right.
You can't do it without.
And it's slightly different market sectors, because those guys are really going after high functionality apps, whereas this seems to be a little bit more presentation.
Yeah, exactly. It's more media driven that way. It's more of a sales tool. Yeah.
Great.
What about existing tools like Sencha?
I'm actually gonna
Please,
catch up with
go
him.
ahead.
Catch up with him after.
Catch up with me privately.
Okay? But David, thanks.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank
Thank you.
All right. My name is Steve Goldstein. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zuus Media. And what Zuus Media is, we're a next generation music video network. What we've done in a nutshell, we figured out a way to seamlessly incorporate over 60 channels of music with personalization and social media tools. Think of us like a Sirius XM or a Pandora for video. Let me show you guys a little video. So we're off to a strong start already. We started with a country music TV network. We're already in over 30 million households. And what our strategy now is, we're launching in other genres, multiple platforms. We're launching our Latin music TV network next week. We're launching online, mobile, connected TV next week. We've already secured our music licensing, and we've already secured strategic partnerships. And we're already generating over $1 million a quarter in business. There's clearly a market need for what we're doing. Music television no longer exists. That's led everybody online. And if anybody searches online for music, you know exactly what you get, a lot of noise. Here's the landscape. You've got your audio players on the left, your video players on the right, on demand on the bottom, continuous stream up top. Spotify, Mog, RDO, these are all your on-demand audio players. Pandora, Sirius, these are your continuous streams. On the video side, Vivo is the only real music video player, and they're on demand. There is currently nobody in the continuous streaming video space. By the way, Pandora streams 13 times more music than that of Spotify. So Zuus fills a completely unmet need. We offer a ton of choices and genres for people to search through, but by launching Zuus, we give a constant stream of music, programmed 24 hours at a time. A complete lean-back experience. Choose your channel, hit play. And the user gets to their information much faster, fewer hassles. They get exactly what they want in the quickest time. That leads to more views per session, more sessions per month. A couple of weeks ago at CES, CNN put out an article that said, 14 gadgets we'd love to see launched at CES. I want the experience of Pandora, but for music videos. Strategics already see value in what we're doing. We've already secured, as I mentioned, licensing. We're working with e-commerce players to sell music. We're working with some of the biggest brands already, some of the biggest festivals that go on over the summer, and a lot of key partnerships. Our target market, 40% of YouTube's unique audience, over 73 million users, access music videos monthly. Anyone from the MTV generation watching videos they haven't seen in years. Any audio streaming user who's now stationary. They're at their desk, they're on their portable, whatever the case may be, they want to see a video along with the audio. Any music enthusiast who wants to discover new channels, new artists, videos they haven't seen, and then any casual music fan who wants the work done for them, which is over 90% of the music listening public. We're monetizing in a lot of different ways. Advertising revenue, we can target, you name it, the channel, the user, the genre, the person. Branded entertainment, because we're developing original content along with our library. We're launching a premium subscription service in about a year or less. We've already established some key partnerships. We built e-commerce into the technology. We already have 3 lines of API ready to go on any video we show. International, likely to be bigger than US, and because we've acquired the largest catalog of music videos, bigger than Vivo's, the out-of-home possibilities are endless for us. So Nielsen just coined Generation C. So Generation C are 18 to 34-year-olds who are really embracing all things digital. And one of the things we did before we planned to go public, we hired 200 of these Generation C people. For 5 weeks, we let them play with Zuus. This is some of the key stats and info we got back. 52% of these kids, students, used Zuus between 30 minutes and 2 hours per week. By comparison, Vivo is 60 minutes a month. 84% said the content is extremely relevant to their personal tastes. And almost 50% said they would absolutely share this with friends. Some of the key quotes we got: my friends would really be into Zuus. This is cool, it's like Pandora for music video. I think this site has what it takes to be one of the most visited sites on the internet. We've put together what we believe is a great team that's going to take this company to the next level. Everyone from the industry who's built media companies before and developed ad-serving technology for them. My name's Steve Goldstein. I'm with Zuus. Thank you very much.
You didn't have consumer usage on the website, so could you provide some stats about where you're at today in terms of uniques, time on site, etc.?
Sure. We are in private beta right now. We've been developing the platform out for the last 10 months. We intend to go live next week on Monday. We're really excited about that. The information that we gave so far was based on our beta testers, a couple of hundred of these Generation C folks, to gather that information.
And the revenue is from your traditional media distribution?
The revenue that we've generated to date is from our country music TV network, which is in 30 million households. And as I mentioned before, we are also launching a Latin music TV network that's launching on Monday as well.
And what's the carrier is that through? What MSO? Or?
Our strategy so far to date, we've gone to the broadcast groups, so we go on to their digital sub-channels, and then we get cable retransmission in each market. It's the cheapest way into that market, and it's given us, like I said, 30 million households. We're in about 38 different markets. We're working with groups like Sinclair Broadcasting, Gannett, a number of the players on the TV side. Now we're talking directly to the MSOs, we're talking to the ADSs, we're talking to the satellite players, because they're looking to have our channels directly instead of going through the broadcast avenue first.
Two questions. Can you talk to us a little bit about the cost of streaming video versus streaming audio, and can you talk to us a little bit about the expected user experience around video versus audio, given that audio is super portable and you can do other tasks while consuming it?
So, great question, and that's one of the things that we actually did here. When we built out our web property, one of the things we thought about was that this is a multitasking generator. I mean, everybody generationally is multitasking. When you watch a TV channel at home, you're flipping through your other 1,000 channels to see what else is on. So we kept our video screen front and center while we allow everything else to go on around it. So we made it very simple for people. The video shifting to the right as your favorites pop up. The video shifting to the left while in real time you're tweeting or posting on Facebook. We believe we're one of the only ones who's really built it into the player. We also built out different products that are going to sit in different places. So this is a third-party widget that's going to sit on other publishers' websites. So imagine a hip-hop publisher. Take the Source magazine as an example. Everyone knows magazine sales are down and viewership is down. But when you add a product like the Zuus widget on the Source, which targets African Americans, urban males, we put our widget on their web page. They get 6 million unique users. We launch with our urban channels. It now keeps the user on the page longer, gives them a viewing experience when they previously would have left. So a lot of publishers we're talking to are really excited.
And that's a money-free transaction. That's just free distribution in return for longer time on site.
It's two things. One, for the publisher, there's a couple of benefits. One is we can keep the user on the site longer, which they're very happy with. Two, we develop an internal advertising network so we can sell more targeted demographic around the web. Three, we also offer a revenue share back to that publisher. And four, depending on the type of business that it is, so the Source can take their music editor, who on a weekly and monthly basis are writing articles about different urban artists. We can now give them access to our catalog, and we can create a Source channel and the channel itself is inspired by Source, so they have more reason to drive their audience to their website. And from a portability standpoint, we're launching Web, this third-party widget, a Facebook player, so you don't need to leave Facebook. We're launching smartphone apps and tablet apps all at the same time. And we're also in the process of building out all of our connected TV devices that we expect to have out by early Q2, which is Xbox, Roku, Boxy. You asked one other question about the cost, and that's obviously a lot that's been talked about. The labels have a big problem with anybody in the on-demand space. Because the on-demand space, if you have the opportunity to listen to or view a video or music anytime you want, you're not going to buy it. So the barriers to entry in the on-demand space are really high. That's why Sony and Universal launched Vivo, a joint venture. And when Viacom, MTV, Yahoo Music, AOL, when they went to the labels and said, I want your content, they threw them over to Vivo. And now they have a deal with Vivo where you ask for music, you get the Vivo player, a complete on-demand. What we're doing is the opposite end of the spectrum. We're program playout. So we're all about discovery. The user only has as much control as they do with a traditional radio station or Sirius or Pandora. You pick a genre you like. I want to listen to 80s music. I want to listen to hip hop. I want to listen to one-hit wonders. And you go in and play, and we're not only helping the audience rediscover music that they haven't seen or heard in years, but we're giving them the opportunity to discover new channels, discover new artists. So the labels love what we're doing because we're giving them a venue to promote their new acts, their old acts that are going back on the road again, and with the e-commerce built right in, we become, over time, a significant contributor to the bottom line. So they're really excited.
Where are you licensing this content from?
Directly from the labels.
And what's the annual carrying cost as you build your library, or is it nominal?
Well, the library itself, there's two different sides to the content. One is having the content, the second is getting the license to show it. So if you went to when we went to the labels and we paid them all this money in royalties and advances, and I said, okay, give me 300 80s videos so I can build out my 80s channel. They said, we can't do that. And we got into a little back and forth. What do you mean? I'm paying you this money. They don't have it categorized. They don't have it cataloged. They don't have it digitized. You can't get it. They said, we'll give you what we gave Vivo, which is videos from the last 5 or 6 years. Because every video that was created from the 70s through today, there's thousands of versions of it. And they don't know where it is, and they couldn't get it to you if they could. So what we've done over the course of the last year is acquire different catalogs from people that have a couple of hundred hours, a couple of thousand videos. So we now have a library in excess of 60,000 videos, bigger than Vivo's catalog. And now that we've secured licensing with the labels, we've now got their catalogs on top of what we've collected. And that gives us the breadth of this Sirius XM or Pandora. So today we currently have 60 channels of music in rock and pop and urban and Latin and country. But we're also talking to music folks in soul because we want to launch a K-pop channel. We're talking to people in India because we're talking about launching a Bollywood channel. Because there's so much interest and there's no distribution for that here, a lot of people are kind of saying we could be the YouTube of music, just because there's no limit to the amount of channels that we launch. So we're really excited about the position that we're in.
Thanks. That was great. Thanks to all the presenting companies. You guys were terrific. And special thanks to the panelists. You were also great. And thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
That way.